Cool. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come record this with us. So as I stated before, basically, I want this episode to really be about you guys and your organizations and the wonderful work you do. So I'm going to try and talk as little as possible and let you guys have the floor. But I wanted to start off just with some introductions. So if you could introduce yourself, your organization, what you guys do, and kind of who you work with. I would really appreciate that. So if someone wants to start, you can go ahead. I'll let you guys have the floor.
I'll go first since I think that's the right order of this little Brady Bunch screen. So my name is Russell Lamberti. I work for Boys and Girls Club of Boston. My club is located in Roxbury. It is the Orchard Gardens Club. We have been running for about 9 years now. We see about, on a normal day, we see about 150 to 170 kids per day. We have usually, again, 3 different programs that cover ages 6 to 18. We have 3 main areas of focus: health and wellness, academics, and community partnerships. I had to think of the third one. So we have, in the past 2 years, grown from about 90 kids per day to where we're at now. And this is really because the need, lots of programs in that area kind of folded and could only really house maybe 10 or 12 kids. So I'm really lucky. I have a really big space. I share space with a school also. This year has been a little bit challenging, as it is for everybody, but we are definitely looking forward to getting back to work. We'll have kids back in the building in less than a month. So I think we're all really excited about that. A little bit trepidatious, but I can't wait to see them. So.
Awesome. Thank you. You guys can just kind of go, unless you would like me to call on someone, you guys can just speak up, no particular order.
Yeah, I'm happy to go a second. So my name's Allie Fuller, and I'm the executive director of Level Ground Mixed Martial Arts. So as the name suggests, we engage the community, both youth and adults, through mixed martial arts training. So that includes Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, boxing, kickboxing, as well as calisthenics and yoga too. So the combat sports is generally our main draw from youth and families within the community. And I really enjoy the kind of intergenerational aspect that we have, because like we'll have our youngest member will be like 2 years old and our oldest is 60. So I think that's something that's really special. And so we are located in Upham's Corner in Dorchester. We originally started a few years ago in 2013, pretty close to you guys, Russell. We started out of the Eggleston Square YMCA, so the very teeny YMCA on Washington Street. And we started just with like a couple of kids doing jiu-jitsu once a week, and then started to grow from there. And so we moved into our current gym space in 2016. It's been a year renovating it, and now have a pretty decent size mat space, as well as a turf area for calisthenics and just open workout as well. So aside from the athletic piece, we also have employment programming. It's called our student trainer program, where we equip the young people to do a couple of things, to either learn how to be a martial arts instructor or a personal trainer, depending on what their main interest is, a form of fitness professional. And then we also train the students on how to manage the gym. And so our students learn on the management track, learn how to do everything from paying invoices to running payroll to interfacing with clients and maintaining our client management systems. And so we allow the students to really decide and take ownership over their experience. We have a longitudinal program, so the youth employees start in the summertime where they get exposure to a bunch of different components, those things I just mentioned, as well as nutrition workshops, post-secondary exploration, career exploration activities. This summer, they're going to be going on virtual college tours, et cetera. And then a smaller group of them, generally between 12 to 16 of them, stay in the year-round program. But some of our students we hired 5 years ago and still work here and now are the primary managers of our gym. So we definitely have that longitudinal relationship with our kids. And then in addition, we have an academic program where we provide college access programming with key partners. And with that, we have tutoring and college preparation classes twice a week as well. So I'm sure we'll get into more details, but that's an overview of what we do.
Okay. Hello, my name is Leila Strong. I'm the Director of Development and Communications at Casa Mirna. We are Boston's oldest and largest domestic violence residential and support service program. We have the full depth and breadth of programming, including legal advocacy. We have 9 lawyers on staff. We have counseling services, advocacy, which is very similar to case management services. We manage the statewide domestic violence hotline, which is open 365, 24/7 across Massachusetts. And then we provide housing, financial stability. I mean, essentially anything a survivor could need to go from where they are currently to a place of stability and healthy relationships is what we provide. Essentially, we provide services to the greater Boston area for our in-person services, and then the statewide hotline is across Massachusetts. Of course, during the COVID outbreak, our service systems have changed somewhat, but we are still fully operational and providing support services to the community. Thanks.
I'll go next. So my name is Erica Austin, and I am a CrossFit Level 1 trainer, and I collaborate with Impact on a program called Strong Her. And what it is it is trauma-informed functional fitness classes combined with self-defense and education for women survivors of domestic violence. And what we do is we help women work with the physical manifestation, the physical piece that is trauma in their body. We help them learn about body awareness, the mind-body connection, so that they're taking the pieces of, if they're having PTSD, if they're having these things, how it goes from a thought to your body, how that feels, and then how do we work with that to kind of process that through and give them tools, and to also kind of help them pick it apart so that it doesn't feel so scary, so that if they're having, if they're experiencing any PTSD from from the violence that's happened to them, that they now can say, okay, I'm having this thought, I'm feeling this way, and I've been taught that I can run, I can do this workout, I have these tools, like I have this type of stuff going on. So we empower women to not just survive after they've had things happen to them in the world, but to thrive in the world, utilizing movement and also empowering them with the self-defense piece, and also educating them on the body awareness, on even allowing them to even understand that they have goals, that they can make goals, that they may not even realize that they are able to have more in the world for themselves, given some of the experiences that they've had. So that's basically what we do. We also, for women that have like children, especially during COVID, it's gotten kind of funky because we can't offer a childcare piece. And previously in a gym, the goal was to have something kind of empowering for the kiddos to do at the same time that the mom is being empowered. So right now with the virtual piece of it, we have to be a little more careful about what we're talking about in class and things if there's children around. And if there are kids, trying to give them something that they can have tangibly. Because we don't have gym space right now, we're providing women with actual care packages of items that they can actually use for exercising, from resistant bands, things like that. And so if we have kids in classes, then we would provide them with, a care package for them too, that would have fun fitness related things, so they would also be able to feel like they are doing something while their moms are becoming better versions of themselves.
And I'll follow Erica. My name is Meg Stone. I'm the Director of Impact. We are collaborating with Strong Her on this project with the Reebok Foundation. Impact is an organization that works across Massachusetts and in a few other spots in New England. We work to prevent violence and abuse and help people heal from past trauma by teaching people the skills to physically protect and defend themselves in the moment of an assault, as well as the verbal and communication skills to speak up for themselves and others, to de-escalate a volatile situation, and to avoid a potentially abusive or violent situation. We also work with organizational leaders to proactively prevent abuse. We work with people with disabilities, women, girls, men, mixed gender groups, people of all walks of life, and we're also active working with a group of people from the Turtle Mountain Chippewa Nation in North Dakota to start a culturally specific Indigenous-led impact program.
Hi, everyone. My name is Raquel Rosenblatt, and I'm the Chief Development Officer at the Dimick Center. We're a large health center, community health center, and human services agency in Roxbury. We've been around for more than 150 years. We serve more than 19,000 people a year in 3 areas of care: in our community health center, in an early childhood education program and early intervention, and in a behavioral health services program, which includes the whole continuum of substance use disorder on our campus. We have a 9-acre campus in Roxbury. People live on campus in our inpatient detox and residential recovery homes in a family shelter. And we provide a whole integrated approach so that someone who's getting served in one area is also connected with all the other care they need in other areas. We do a few different kinds of focused efforts around health and wellness and physical activity, including providing fitness and nutrition education to our children in early education, and also to our adults who are in the residential recovery homes. And we do a 5K walk run every fall called the Road to Wellness. This summer, we're doing that in a bit of a different way, which I'll describe later, but we're still engaging our community in health and fitness, which is really vital for our entire community right now, which predominantly comprises a large population of very low-income people from Black and Brown communities.
Awesome. Thank you guys all for sharing. So the next kind of topic I want to dive into, now that we've gotten all the introductions out of the way, is, what in the communities that you work with, what are kind of specific issues or struggles that the community may face in related to health and fitness or health and wellness, and kind of, what programs do you guys run to kind of help with that? And this doesn't have to be, all of you talk like one at a time. I'd love to, hear people jump in and collaborate together on talking about these different inequities. But if one of you wants to start, you can go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, so
okay.
I'll just say, some thoughts that come to mind. So of course for us, the in terms of health and wellness, the physical activity piece is kind of like the thing that we've focused on the most historically, and that we'll continue to focus on, even though that we do want to get more into the nutrition space, which I'll explain in a little bit. But in terms of the physical activity piece, for us, for a lot of our youth and a lot of our families, there's a couple of things going on that come immediately to mind. So for example, even though a lot of the young people have opportunities to participate in team sports at school or have access to some other awesome community centers. Not every sport, not every means of physical activity. It's not one size fits all here. So for me personally, I knew that I didn't really work out consistently until I started combat sports, and none of the other team sports resonated with me. I didn't particularly like working out by myself, and so I always had the impression that I just didn't like sports, I wasn't athletic, etc. And then starting martial arts, it just completely changed my life and empowered me so much as a human. And so I think that's something that we see in a lot of our young people, where they just don't have access to their sport. And so that's something that we provide for them in terms of the different combat sports classes, and even now like the yoga that we provide as well, which is of course based on mindfulness, but also very athletic and dynamic in nature. And so the reason why the youth and the families are precluded from mixed martial arts. So as a lot of you probably know, mixed martial arts, UFC, those things are really hot right now and have been. It's one of the fastest growing sports in the world. However, there's that, but then there's also the fact that to go to a jiu-jitsu gym, to go to a combat sports gym, you're looking between $150 to $225 a month in Boston to train. And so that's unfortunate, because a lot of our young people have a lot of energy that they want to express, and there's just something about hitting a bag or grappling with another person that can get a lot of that kind of bridled energy out. And then from there, they learn just so many different transferable skill sets and values, such as humility, respect, self-control, perseverance, discipline, all of these different things that they learn very organically on the mat, but then they embrace and apply as they move through the world. So yeah, the martial arts piece is huge. And then same thing with yoga. Yoga studios are very expensive, though there are a few more kind of yoga programs that are being rolled out, which I think is really awesome. But our yoga is really specifically tailored for martial artists. So that's why we offer that as well. And then finally, I'll just I would be super interested to hear from, for example, Raquel and some of the other folks that do stuff around nutrition. For us, a struggle that we've had since working within the physical activity space here in the community is like our kids, they come in and work out and train, but they're either before practice or after practice, they're like binging on fried chicken and pizza because they're super hungry, but there's just no other access for like healthy foods here. Like we're literally located above a fried chicken place, and then across the street is a pizza place, a Chinese place. Like it's delicious, but it's not giving the kids the stuff that they need in their bodies. And so we have a lot of ideas that we're working on right now. And this summer, I'm really excited to integrate more intentional nutrition and food justice curriculum into our program through a capstone project. But that's just definitely a challenge that we have right now that we're working to address. So, yeah.
And I think here at DIMIC, we've integrated nutrition education in a variety of different ways. And one way is through our the use of a garden. We have a garden on campus, and it's right near our early childhood education program. So there's that direct tie-in where the nutritionist can teach parents healthy cooking skills and recipes by using the produce that's in the garden. Teachers and children can go into the garden every day and see growth and harvest and share those foods. So that's kind of a really great tie-in. In our health center, the nutrition education in some ways is a bit more clinically focused, I'd say. In one particular area of adults with some complex medical issues, including diabetes and hypertension, nutrition education and learning how to cook healthy recipes on a budget, that's a key part of maintaining their good health. So that's part of, I guess, an overall prescription, so to speak, for good health. And at the same time, we're seeing that even just having the presence of some of our community health workers or the nutritionists in the lobby of our health center, just cooking healthy foods and just giving out samples and a recipe in English and Spanish, that can be a small thing. So I think at DIMIC, I know that's not directly a tie-in, Alex, to what you're asking about young people and that connection, but I think we've done it in this way where the access, it's not scary for people. It's not that they're being kind of beat over the head with, you need to eat these healthy foods and here they are. It's just kind of like ingrained and connected into what they're already experiencing at DMIC. And they're learning really small things about how to just make one swap in an ingredient to make it healthier and also really affordable, and to see that they like to eat it and it's fast and easy and their kids do. So I think that's just something that I've seen that's been really effective at DMIC.
Yeah, I want to pick up on something that Raquel said, particularly in terms of the work that Impact and Strong Her are doing together. It is really important, especially for people that have experienced trauma or abuse or poverty, to really get very sort of non-blaming messages and skills and tools that support people in changing and making the positive steps in their lives that they choose. At Impact, oftentimes people come in with this idea of what self-defense is, that it's some, regimented military, fight club. But really what we're trying to do is we're trying to help people access the power in their bodies and help people see that they have choices and they can be participants in their own safety and their community's safety. And particularly when it comes to people who have survived abuse, helping people reconnect with their bodies and their power, and seeing that they can be powerful even if they feel fear, even if they're having trauma symptoms. So what we're really trying to do is create a trauma-informed experience of both getting stronger and getting more fit, but also getting more powerful and more able to handle unsafe situations with confidence.
I think that's really wonderful. You guys mentioned a few things like chronic stress and access to food that are, specific realities that people in your community do face. So I was wondering if we could touch a bit more on stuff like that, that might, that you have programs and stuff to kind of counteract. But I think it would be really interesting for people to kind of hear about the different realities of life that people in your communities are facing in regards to, unequal access to fitness and wellness and stuff like that.
One of the things that Strong Her is doing is I'm putting together some training for fitness professionals because, and it's becoming more apparent, especially with the current program that I just started, is that one of the barriers, I think, is that fitness professionals are amazing. They may not completely understand, though, the nuances of people that have experienced trauma. And trauma is super complex in and of itself, and everyone experiences it differently. So not everyone is going, not every fitness professional that works with every person is going to see what they need to see every second. But I think that sometimes for what I see, women, they may not access any sort of health or fitness facility because they're experiencing so much internally that they may not feel they have the self-confidence. But then, a woman may go into a regular, gym space and maybe access a personal trainer or try something like that. And that individual doesn't understand how to work with them, doesn't understand that nuances of things they should be looking for, or when someone becomes dysregulated for any particular reason, or when someone is triggered by a particular movement and, and they may become uncomfortable. And so oftentimes, having been in gyms from a YMCA to a CrossFit gym and two very different spaces, you see members come in and out, and they're there for a while and then they leave. I've had some members come to me that have talked about, having interactions with a particular coach or trainer and not in a judgmental or terrible way, but just saying this person doesn't understand that I've experienced this trauma and they're speaking to me in this manner and it's really triggering for me. So I think a barrier can be that there needs to be more education for trainers. And there is so much trauma in our community, not just in, domestic violence, but I mean, veterans are in the gym, there's military, and now with COVID, I mean, first responders are experiencing trauma. There's going to be so many people that are processing trauma right now, and there needs to be training for fitness professionals to be able to understand as much as they can, to be able to work with these people so that they can have access to fitness and stay healthy.
Erica, I'd also add, first, I applaud what you're doing because you are one of the first voices that I've heard in that space. So thank you for being that voice. And similarly, for folks at Casa Mirna, which is also working in the domestic violence, sexual assault world, for us, it's similarly, it's access to trauma-informed support services, and even just the support to help you get out of your house or stay in your house and find access to exercise and health and nutrition resources. For our folks, it really is getting past your history of abuse and violence to find the confidence to go and seek your own power. That's a lot of the work that we do with folks early on, is helping them find their voice and their strength and their influence again. And we use exercise frequently, and our relationship with Reebok has really helped kind of bolster that effort. So for us, it's really about finding confidence within yourself and the trauma-informed resources to make that a reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are, I mean, it's such an important tool for people to have access to. I'm curious to ask, in all of your communities, what have you maybe seen related to kind of racial inequity and racial injustice in your communities, and how does that kind of link into access to fitness in kind of your gyms or just in where you work? Yeah.
I can speak again. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm monopolizing this, but and I'd also love to hear from Russell, who I feel like is pretty nearby the Dimick Center. But I think in our community in Roxbury, and I think all of our communities, of all of us on the phone, the issues of racism, they've been there forever, and right now they're even more at the forefront. And it's this kind of combination of that layered into the challenges of the pandemic and how that's even more disproportionately affecting people of color, and the economic challenges of having coming from lower incomes. So I think all of that is combining together in a really very poignant way right now. At Dimick, I'd say that our work has always addressed that. That's been really part of our mission from the beginning. Now it's layered on with these challenges of the pandemic and these other issues. But what we're seeing around fitness and physical movement and health and wellness is that that's a huge part of healing. And I've talked to Brooke about this, but I'm just so amazed about this. We have this free summer training outside, live in person, for our Road to Wellness 5K. And I don't think we're actually going to be able to do our 5K in person this year because of that would be considered phase 4, and I'm not sure we'll be there by September 12th. But we have all these great ideas that we're working on to keep people connected with fitness. And one thing that we have done incredibly successfully is we started a training program 3 weeks ago outside in Franklin Park, socially distanced, wearing masks. And we had more than 50 people this past Saturday, and it was unbelievable. I mention this because everybody who's there can articulate that coming together as a community at this time is vital to the healing around issues of the pandemic and racism. And I just find that such power in that ability to walk and run and be together, even if distanced, to combat these challenges. It's not dissimilar to what you all are saying, working in the field of fitness to combat trauma, but I'm seeing it directly related in a very specific way to issues of the racism in our community also.
Yeah, and So yeah, I think we're about 2 or 3 blocks away from each other, and it's I think the issues that we're having now, we recognize that they've been there. They're still going to be there, but how can I, in my small little pod, how can my team give the opportunity back to the youth and families that need an outlet? And I think it's really important now because the weather's getting nicer. I think programs will be opening up slowly. I mean, my program is opening up to about 25%, but that's not going to be enough. So we do have to do things that we're not used to doing. And well, you know, if it's a virtual $5K race, if it's a Zoom class, we really can't stop these things. We have to keep, at least for my families, I heard from them every day. And then there was like a little bit of a lull, and now we're almost in July, and I think they don't have the access anymore to healthy foods. You know, I think people are getting a little bit zoomed out. I think programs are saying, well, you know what, we all kind of need a mental break, but we have to make sure that we're not really taking too long of a pause, because I'm not sure where these families and where these youth are actually going to reach out to. And I know that I'm trying, you know, I'll probably have to say no to about 60, 70 families, but I need resources to tell those families, I might not be able to help you right now, but you can call A, B, and C. And just hearing what I'm hoping we do that for each other. So.
I think Avery has having computer issues, so we're kind of part of the issue. But I'd really love to just you know, help and these are higher levels of ratings, but just to help these to be filled right now, and what's kind of the daily reality for the participants in your programs.
I'll start, Brooke. For us, the reality of folks who are living with their abuser right now, and who are home with an abuser right now, it is tense and can be scary. And when you look at abusive relationships kind of at a macro level, people use fear, emotional abuse, physical abuse, financial abuse to keep their partner in their control. So when you're home with your abuser, it really feels like there's no escaping it. So the service that we provide in that is a voice, and whether it's a support system to create a safety plan for when you're ready to go, to find a safety plan for how to stay and remain safe for you and most likely children, or if it's a safety plan and to figure out a way out. We provide emergency housing and support services, residential services for people who need to leave in an emergency situation, but those are few and far between right now. So the crux of the issue that we're really facing now is how do we support people going forward as we don't see an end in sight for COVID? How do you create stability for folks who really need it when we're all going through an emotional turmoil right now, but then you add that additional layer of physical, emotional, or financial abuse on top of it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, just thank you for what you do. Thank you very much for what you do. In regards to just like the general landscape, yeah, I mean, it's just pretty staggering in terms of the disparities that exist within Boston that are associated with race and that are associated with socioeconomic, just like socioeconomic status. And because what's interesting is that Boston's a very small city, and yet there are just very stark and sharp disparities within a very close proximity. So for example, we've shared this so many times, but in Roxbury, for example, the the average life expectancy is 58 and a half, whereas in Back Bay, it's 91 and a half, which, you know, Roxbury to Back Bay is a couple of miles, and yet we're talking about 31 or so years of disparity there. And so Boston University attributes that primarily to these health and wellness issues that our populations experience, being lack of physical activity and lack of access to healthy eating on a regular basis, which of course combined leads to these issues with chronic disease, which is responsible for killing like the majority of deaths. And so, yeah, I think that that is just a really poignant and staggering reality that our residents live in. And then you guys, several of you have brought it up, and I think that the toll that takes on one's mental wellness cannot be overstated. I mean, just the incredible, I mean, it's like data has shown the disproportionate levels of stress that these families and that these children are experiencing on a daily basis. I mean, you know, and I'm sure all of you can say the same, especially working with teenagers, like the things that these teens are thinking about are things that I didn't have to think about until I was, you know, until I was a young adult. But the things that 14, 15-year-olds are having to think about in terms of how they're going to be able to help out their younger sibling because they don't have access to school supplies, or they're worried about, you know, where if their mom's going to be able to get that job so that they can like eat. I mean, these are things that I just didn't have to think about myself when I was their age. And I think that that is really poignant. So I know a lot of us are focused on the physical part, but yeah, just to be able to have a space, have a Boys and Girls Club, have these different programs that you guys have, and for us having a gym in which kids can come in and we can start to meet some of those needs in terms of, you know, access to physical activity, and starting to do, we've done these nutrition workshops a lot with the kids, but now, to Raquel's point, now we're integrating in culinary activities as well, so that the theory is coming into practice. But then outside of that, I just don't think that, I think we would be remiss to say like the power of having just like the power of having fun, the power of having somewhere where kids can come and just have fun, just be able to be kids for a couple of hours every day, be able to like, you know, do some self-defense, punch some people, whatever it is that looks like in a given day. I don't think that can be overstated, because the things that are on their minds is just ridiculous. And so that is something that I feel just really, really concerned and very passionate about. Like, I really hope that these kids walk out, you know, like being able to make some money from our program, being able to get better grades. But I'm also concerned about like, are we helping to make some happy kids, you know, kids that can feel connected to a community that knows that they support them, and just genuinely feel a little bit of stress relief when they walk out of our doors.
Thank you. I just want to address another community that we work with that is too often invisible, and that is people with disabilities. In Boston and around the state, people with disabilities are disproportionately affected by abuse. And one thing that we have found during this pandemic is that because a lot of people with disabilities are immunocompromised, not all, but a lot, and also a lot of the programming for people with disabilities is in the very latest phases of the reopening. Many survivors with disabilities that we are working with are incredibly isolated. Some are being exploited on dating apps. A couple of the folks that we work with were on dating apps, and people would pose as, you know, folks that wanted to date them and then ask them for their bank information. Others are struggling with being sheltered in place with verbally and emotionally abusive family members. And others are sort of struggling with loneliness and with trauma. One thing that we have done during the pandemic is we have created virtual social support groups for people with intellectual disabilities. And we've been able to not only do some education about healthy relationships, but also just create a space where people can hang out and meet each other and have social connections with people that are not trying to exploit them. So that is something that we've seen. And I think when it comes to people with disabilities in Boston and elsewhere, folks are going to be isolated longer than other people. It's going to be less safe for some folks with disabilities to leave their homes. So we are doing, in collaboration with Boston Public Schools, we will be doing virtual summer school self-defense and technology safety programs that will be part of the Boston Public Schools special education program. But it is really important, as we talk about members of marginalized communities, that we also acknowledge that people with disabilities in every community are being very affected by the pandemic.
You know, another
Avery,
population.
we can't,
Oh.
yeah, your audio. Avery texted me and said our audio was being a little wonky. We can't hear you. So go ahead, Raquel.
Oh, sorry. So just thinking that another population that really is incredibly affected by the pandemic and just access to health and fitness are people in recovery from substance use disorder. And at DMIC, we do support them with a whole range of care, starting with a 40-bed inpatient detox to residential recovery homes to outpatient support and a family sober living home. But we have not stopped any of those programs during the pandemic. We've continued to take new folks, welcome them in, and transition them to other levels of care. But I think that for those people who are struggling with substance use disorder, first of all, I think we all acknowledge that it can be a chronic disease that continues, and some folks may relapse and then keep moving forward on their recovery. Learning about ways to use exercise and fitness in a powerful way during recovery is pretty amazing. I've seen that in the men in particular who've been participating in a boot camp this past year with one of our volunteer coaches, and the folks coming to the trainings this summer into the Road to Wellness. Learning how to cook healthy foods as part of recovery, that's huge too. And these are things that people they just weren't even thinking about, because by their own admission, they were so focused on their addiction. That was all they could handle at those times. So I think that's a big piece of the work at DMIC in terms of our overall portfolio of who we help, and having that ability to integrate physical activity, nutrition into the healing and the recovery process, that's huge. And people are so excited to even see how that relates to their recovery.
Poor Avery. I'll keep going. So it's been really amazing to hear the power of fitness, not only for the kind of immediate projects that we've been working on, but the potential that's out there. So I really appreciate that in terms of helping us kind of open our perspective. And I guess, continuing on this education route, if you wanted people who haven't been to your organization or aren't familiar with you to know anything, or if there's a way that people could help in any way, what would that be? And how can people really help address the needs, help your capacity, help you do your work better?
One way that people can help all of us, if people are able, is to make donations. This is a tough climate for every nonprofit organization. And if you are able to give at any amount, you really just not only give the practical support that organizations need to keep their doors open, but every time we get a donation, I just feel a little vote of confidence. And that just makes me feel a little lighter and a little more able to navigate this completely uncertain situation. And it just feels like the most generous, warm, supportive thing that anyone can do when they're facing their own uncertainty, to just share a little bit with us. And it is unbelievable what it does for morale. And it doesn't really matter the amount of the donation, whatever people can afford.
Yeah, for us, I mean, yeah, I hear you. We would never say no to money either. I think that there's just like a lot of kind of like practical things that we could use support in, especially if people want some hot, like, you know, some touch points. So we've been corresponding and bombarding Brooke with many emails now about soliciting guest speakers. So our summer jobs program is going to be pretty extensive in terms of having a lot of educational components for 28 young people this summer who will be participating. It's going to be a hybrid program of virtual and meeting in small groups in person, and we're super, super excited about it. So ongoing needs that we're going to have is year-long, not just in the summer, but year-long, we have guest speaker opportunities where folks can come connect with kids, share their stories, share about how they got to where they are, any words and wisdom that they would impart to our crazy teenagers who just are so awesome and eager to learn. So that is one thing. And then we also have, in addition to kind of those one-off opportunities, this fall we're starting a professional mentorship program where we're connecting teenagers to mentors, hopefully within a field of interest of theirs. So that's another opportunity for something that's a little bit more consistent and ongoing. And then we'll also be working on beautification projects in the gym, painting, patching holes, getting our hands dirty with those kinds of stuff. And then finally, skills-based volunteers. We're looking for folks who know what they're doing when it comes to social media and marketing and PR and some other kind of skills-based volunteer projects that we're working on that could really use support in people who actually have experience in this and could help us with their capacity a little bit.
So Leela, I was wondering if I could call on you. You and I have had some very honest conversations about volunteering that's helpful and volunteering that's not helpful. Do you mind speaking some truth to the people, please?
Sure. For us, and I can speak only for the work that we're doing, but especially in times of crisis, and right now, whether it's COVID or social justice, we're all experiencing kind of that level. And the best thing that folks can do is to ask a nonprofit what they need, and then do that. For many well-intentioned folks, it would be donating, half of your closet worth of clothes, but you don't know if the nonprofit accepts used clothing. Or it would be, $2,000 in gift cards. That may not be of use. So the very best thing that you can do is to ask whomever at the organization you have a relationship with, or just call the info line and say, hey, what do you need right now? For us, what we generally need is items for folks living in shelter, moving in and out of shelter. But because we have most of our folks not living in shelter right now, and they've been moved to hotels and to send out the folks living in a residential program. Right now, what we need, honestly, is cash. And nonprofits have a hard time specifically saying, this is what we need. Because right now, our participants, they need rental assistance. We need to be able to help people pay rent to stay housed, to stay healthy, to stay stable, and not have to go back to their abuser. So we are so grateful for all of the support that we get, but we are eternally grateful for our friends who ask us what we need.
Avery, is your audio working to close it out, or?
Can you hear me?
There we go, yes.
Erica, did you want to, I saw you unmuted yourself for a second there. Did you want to say something before we wrap it up, or?
Oh, I was going to say, for the Strong Her program right now, like for one, definitely donations, because we are, the program is no cost. Being a functional fitness and being that the program initially started in a CrossFit gym, memberships are extremely expensive, and so the program it's no cost to them. But also right now, because of COVID, we have no gym. So we are providing them with exercise equipment. So, donations of, specific exercise equipment items that we can can provide to the women are really important right now. And I think also over the long term, it would be really fantastic to see some, I would love to honestly see a couple local Boston gyms implement this program, you know, in their gym, because I'm getting a fairly good response to the program so far. And, you know, even in COVID, with new barriers like the internet, which is now this new situation of people that don't have access to internet, or they're struggling with access to, you know, their internet's wonky and stuff. So I would say those are things that we, you know, we would be looking for.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for taking time out of your day to be here and share all this information with us. It's been super informative for me and hopefully for people watching to kind of learn more about who you are and what you do and who you work with, because I think there's a lot of parts of Boston that people don't really know about and that deserve to be known about. So again, I really appreciate you taking this time.